Hello, name is Critically Chris and welcome to my channel. This video I wanted to go over those who post what they read online. There are hundreds of people whose content revolves around the books they read on short video platforms. But a good handful of these people exaggerate how much they read, and I want to talk about it. More so on how unnecessary it is to lie about reading. What sparked for me to talk about this topic is a video I came across recently of someone claiming to have read 12 books in a single week. This isn't my first time coming across a video like this. I've seen people say they've read 15 to 20 books in a month, or 100 to 150 plus in a single year. I'm not saying these numbers are entirely impossible, but I do have a hard time believing these claims. I like to read as much as the next person, maybe a little more. Practically anything I read I can see perfectly in my head, which makes the activity slightly more enjoyable for me. But even with as much as I love to read, I still have other things in my life that I need to do. I have chores, other projects besides this channel, and a full-time job. I try to read between my responsibilities, especially since the primary part of my channel is reviewing books I have read. But most of the time I can only get through a book on a good week, and at best I can read a book within a single day. I know everyone has different life schedules and reading paces, but grown adults that typically should have a part-time job or at least some responsibilities, I cannot imagine having the ability to take an entire week off just to read. Unless you have a housekeeper or something to take care of household chores and errands, laundry, dishes, general cleaning, pet care for those who have animals, grocery shopping, I'm not seeing how anyone can do absolutely nothing but read, not to mention time needed to sleep and eat. The average book length is about 350 pages, but there are plenty of books out there that are less than that. It would not be unimaginable that many of these book content creators are actually reading shorter books to reach these numbers that they are claiming. However, they tend to show the books that they have read, and many of them are average length books, which makes me question their honesty and also where they get the time if they're being truthful. I have seen this 24-hour challenge, which is either a group of friends or a single person reading multiple books in 24 hours. They grab about 3 or 4 books, depending on size, sometimes more, and spend the next 24 hours reading without taking a break for sleep. This I can see being done by jobless teenagers and maybe adults if they have a few consecutive days off. Honestly, I might try to partake in this trend if I find the time and energy, but that may be a fairly distant future thing. I see the possibility of having 24 hours to yourself. I often do. But an entire week? Only under very particular circumstances do I see that happening. But I also can't help but imagine how boring that can be, only reading for 7 days straight. Again, I love reading, but to do nothing but read for so long can be understimulating. I'm not saying it's for everyone. However, there are people out there that feels reading fatigue after a while, including me. Sometimes I have to take reading breaks depending on my life going ons, but majority of the time I do have to take a moment after reading a book to really let the story set in. Primarily reading thrillers, my books tend to have some plot twist, and I need at least a couple hours or a night's sleep to let my brain fully comprehend whatever happened in said book. But I read books that tend to wreck my brain a little bit, and romances or contemporary books are easier to move on from. The main thing I don't understand is the need to exaggerate how much you read. Reading is an activity, sometimes project or sometimes a career, but mainly an activity that's supposed to be fun or relaxing. Some people set goals for themselves of reading a certain number of books each month or year. That's not something I do, but it's often done by others. And people get a sense of accomplishment when that goal is reached. But to use your platform to brag about how much you read is a little weird to me. Besides school reading competitions that typically result in pizza parties, I don't know when reading became a contest of how much or how fast you can read. Especially in adulthood, there is no prize to be won reading the most books. The only thing bragging about reading so much does is set a precedent that doesn't need to exist. Whether these book content creators are lying or not, I don't see the need to brag or challenge others about something like reading, let alone lie. I like that people want to share what they read, how they feel about stories, and give recommendations, but anything other than that seems pointless and turns the hobby into something it really shouldn't be. I don't like the joy being sucked out of reading and people only reading out of some sort of obligation, trend, or challenge. The point I'm trying to make is that it truly doesn't matter how much you read or how quickly you can. There is no grand prize or ranking. The only reason anyone should read is if it's an enjoyable activity for them or for an assignment they might have. There's no point to lie about reading other than to boost your own ego and have some feeling of superiority over others. That alone is a silly thing. Read for joy. Your love for what you do is the only thing that matters when it comes to hobbies. I think I'm done talking about this for today. This type of topic is just peeving for me to think about. I do have another video coming about the different types of toxicity I see in book communities where I might get a little more heated. If you have anything you disagree with, would like to add, or have a book you want to recommend for me to read and review in the future, feel free to leave a comment below. My Goodreads will be in the description if you want to see what I've read or want a recommendation. Consider leaving a like and subscribe to stick around for more. That's all for this video. Thank you so much for watching and have a good day.